All right, we are going to talk about importing things into your workspace. So this is the box that I'm currently working on. I go File, Import, and it will show me all of my files. Now you can pick an SVG, you can pick a JPEG, you can pick whatever you like. In this case, SVG, and you just import it however you need. And then if you click this, the arrows in the corners, you can retain aspect ratio as you resize, and then move it wherever you like. If you click the arrows on the left and right or top and bottom, it'll stretch or skew accordingly. So it will not retain the aspect ratio of what you're doing. You can also use the dimensions that we learned about earlier. So the next thing I want to do is I want to cut a circle or a half circle out of the side of these two sides. So out of the connecting side of these two sides. So I copied the two sides, I pulled them over here so that if I mess up, I can start from scratch. And I put them directly against each other. And then I'm going to put that circle right in between them and use the path functions that we learned about earlier and the difference feature to separate the circle out of the square. So since I don't want all three objects to kind of mess with each other, I just want the two so it'll be easier to work with. I copy it, I just have those left, and I select it and it doesn't work. And it took me a while to figure out what was going on, but essentially what's happening here is each of these shapes is layered on top of each other. So the square is layered on top of the circle. So I'm going to click the square here, click object, and lower to bottom. And what that does is it puts the square behind the circle. So now when I do difference, it'll actually cut the circle out of the square. So it's cutting whatever's in the foreground out of whatever's in the background. So the same thing happens here. The circle is in the background right now. So when I do difference, it actually cuts the square out of the circle. So I undo that. I select the square. I go to object and nope, not path, object, and lower to the bottom. And then when I do the path difference, it cuts the circle out of that square side. So that's easy now that we know how to do that. And just looking at it, make sure it all looks good. And what I want to do now is I just want to take these and replace the other two sides so I don't print extra sides. So now that I know these work, I'm just going to drag them back over here and delete the ones that I copied them off of so that I have these for reference later. So the next thing I'm going to do is import a JPEG image. So for importing non-vector images, it doesn't matter what format it is, PNG, GIF, JPEG, you do the same thing that you do for vectors. You import, and then you find, in this case, a very amazing JPEG to import. Resize it however you need to, place it wherever you need to. I'm just going to etch it into the side of this box, I think. And it's actually fine the way it is. For this vector image, I want to change the color that it is, because the color is going to determine print order. And I want to have things print in different orders. And then finally, for this, so this is all filled in. So I'm going to take the fill off, and then I'm going to change the fill to stroke, and you'll see how that changes the image. And then I also want to change the color of this as well. And then when I pull it into the Glowforge to print, I'm going to be able to select which of these items I want to print first, second, or third.